And with Chris Barnes, it was just unfortunately been defeated by our friend Don Bannett in the semi-finals. It was a really tight match, Chris. How have you enjoyed this year's competition?
Well, it's been a ride of, well, it's a roller coaster ride, but mostly at the bottom of the track for me. Yeah. I lost my first 3 games. Belmonte doubled to force me into action the first game, and I was not able to come through. And then he struck out the second game to beat me by 1 pin there. And then Matt Chamberlain struck out to beat me by 2 pins, and it's kind of been the story of the tournament for me. I was lucky to win the 3 games in a row and survived and made it through the semifinals based on pins, averaging a little over 250. But then I ran into Dom, and I made a couple of mistakes against him, and you know, he's just bowling too good. He can't afford to make mistakes like that. I gave him a couple of pins and count, and he used those to beat me.
Okay. Well, it's a pleasure to see you again, Chris. I saw you over here with the Weber Cup as well, and you really are a big character in the sport for us, certainly in the UK. It's a shame that you had to exit as you did, but it's a very high-scoring tournament. Do you think you'll be back next year?
Well, I don't get to control that. If I'm invited, I'll be back. I love bowling the World 10 Pin Masters. I love bowling the Weber Cup. The crowds are always good here, and they're pretty exciting. It was a little bit more fun tonight. The Domination group they were a little bit rowdy. I was a little disappointed. I thought they were capable of more, you know, from of English football, soccer to us, you know. Mm-hmm. But what they're capable of, chance and whatever, I was a little disappointed. You know, I didn't even get a spank the yank out of them. So, but we did have fun, and you know, it's great when they get into it. And it seems like I'm always bowling one of the English players in this tournament.
Well, the crowd are pretty good. They're not that bad. I did hear a few boos as you walked in, which is, I think, in good taste. The crowd isn't quite as big this year as it was last year. What do you think to the crowd?
Yeah, I'm a little surprised because it's always been capacity here, but you know, it could be economy, it could be any number of things. It's hard to say. The weather's actually decent here, so you know, that doesn't happen very often either. So fighting against factors, but a little more subdued in the beginning part. But I thought that was more due to the fact that we had round robin play, which I think is a better overall format. But without the sudden death, the crowd was not as riled up as fast. Today they've been great.
And next year, obviously, if you are invited back, you're hoping to come back and maybe take the crown again.
Yeah, I've never finished lower than 3rd, I don't think, in this tournament so far, but I haven't been able to snap off a win here in a few years now. So I'd like to get back up on top and avenge a couple of my losses here between Belmonte, Guy last year, and Dominic. And maybe I owe some of my friends a little payback.
That's true. Oh, we've seen you in the UK, but we haven't seen you bowling too much in Europe yet. Is that something you've considered doing on maybe the European tour? I know the PBA commitments will be fairly strong, but have you thought of bowling in Europe possibly?
Yeah, I've considered it. You know, it's difficult with the exchange rate being what it was last year, and my travel schedule with exhibitions and commitments to Columbia 300, it makes it a little more difficult to spend an extra couple of weeks and then out of my pocket on top of it. You know,
it's tough.
The balance between family and money family has to win sometimes.
Absolutely.
And so the last few years, that's kind of where I've drawn the line. Instead of going over to bowl some of the single EBT events, I would consider going to back-to-back ones. But actually, we talked about going to Finland and Luxembourg, but decided against it because this summer is going to be very busy. Our tour is going to start back up in August again. The American Zones are mid-September, and the Weber Cup is the beginning of October. And I'm just going to spend some of that time between mid-October and January trying to catch back up and get some quality time in with my family.
Okay, Chris. Thank you very much for talking to us.
Thanks for having me on.